Good morning and welcome to Rising. We've got a great show for you today. Nice to see you all here for Rising. Hi, Lindsay.
Hey, another Monday, another chance to hang out together. What's going on? How was your weekend?
My weekend was fine. Do you know what's on my mind?
What's on your mind?
The lantern flies.
Those are those gray, red, nasty
gray
looking.
And red.
Well, they're pretty looking.
Weird looking bug. Yeah, it's not the ugliest bug ever, but it's an invasive species suddenly taking over DC. I swear I'd never seen one of these things until about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And now I see them. They're in my area. They're in Navy Yard. Now I see them everywhere. I've heard people describe trees that just the tree is moving because they're just swarms of lanternflies in them. It's so gross and awful.
Well, I've seen them for a couple of weeks now, but mostly squashed all over the street. And I feel bad because, like you said, they're pretty, but when they come flying at you, it's pretty disgusting.
You have to kill them all.
Bzz, bzz,
We have to kill them all. They all must die.
But that's actually a directive.
Yeah.
People say
they don't belong here.
They don't belong here. You got to get them out of here. Who are we blaming for bringing these things? I haven't done extensive research. You
I
don't
think
know?
the wind.
The wind. Okay.
The wind blew them here
We're blaming the wind. So is that what's on your radar or something else?
No, it is not. A little bit more serious subject, but maybe by the end of the week I'll be worked up enough on this to do a radar. But for now, something else.
Okay, what do you have?
All right, Vice President J.D. Vance and Senator Rand Paul are feuding over the Trump administration's decision to destroy a Venezuelan ship in the Caribbean, ostensibly because the ship was carrying illegal drugs. Now, let no one say that MAGA is a monoculture. Prominent conservative political figures and supporters of President Donald Trump's agenda are united against Democrats, the left, and the mainstream media, but they do frequently disagree amongst themselves on policy, particularly foreign policy. Now, this disagreement is healthy, and the more public it is, the better. I want to see my political leaders actively arguing with each other. It's democracy, it's free speech, and it's how good policy gets made. Liberals and mainstream commentators, well, they think it's embarrassing when Trump feuds with other people in public, like Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. But as an informed citizen, I'd rather witness the disagreement than have it take place behind closed doors. Disagreements are keeping the MAGA movement fresh and vital. They're a big reason that the current incarnation of the GOP has effectively outcompeted the Democrats, who are obsessed with gatekeeping and kicking anyone who dissents out of the coalition. But I digress. On to the substance of the debate. Now, last week, U.S. forces hit a Venezuelan drug ship alleged to be part of a Tren de Aragua drug smuggling ring. The boat was struck in open waters in the Caribbean, and 11 suspected cartel members were killed. According to Secretary of State Marco Rubio, the drugs were headed for some other South or Central American shore, perhaps Trinidad. Vice President J.D. Vance reacted positively to the news, writing on X, "Killing cartel members who poison our fellow citizens is the highest and best use of our military." Liberal X personality Brian Krasenstein replied, "Killing the citizens of another nation who are civilians without any due process is called a war crime," to which Vice President Vance responded, "I don't give a bleep what you call it." That reaction drew a strong rebuke from Senator Rand Paul, who wrote on X that it's, quote, "a despicable and thoughtless sentiment to glorify killing someone without a trial." Now look, I'm not going to tone police the vice president, and I agree that U.S. foreign policy should not generally be constrained by international law or also the laws of other countries. However, I do think Vance should care, and does care, about whether attacking and killing cartel members in the Caribbean is a good idea. I also want Vance and President Trump to keep in mind their promise to the American people and to their voters in particular that the U.S. would launch no new wars under Trump. It's a key promise and a vital component of the MAGA agenda. Here's what Trump said upon winning the 2024 presidential election.
But we had no wars. They said, he will start a war. I'm not going to start a war. I'm going to stop wars. But this is also a massive victory for democracy and for freedom. Together, we're going to unlock America's glorious destiny, and we're going to achieve the most incredible future for our people.
That was a winning message, but now we're changing the name of the Department of Defense to the Department of War. And worse, we're speculating openly about regime change in Venezuela. Okay, now, the Nicolas Maduro government is corrupt, it's authoritarian, it's socialist, and if it falls, good riddance. It's not the U.S.'s job, however, to arrange that outcome or to become complicit in whatever follows. Moreover, the U.S. has not declared war on Venezuela. The cartels are criminal associations, and we can disrupt their activities to the extent they are affecting U.S. citizens. But should we really go around wiping them out when they're involved in disputes that have nothing to do with us? Now, Trump still seems to be on solid ground here and is actually downplaying the idea of regime change in Venezuela currently, which is a good thing. It's a relief. He should stick to that. The administration should also back off some of this tough guy rhetoric. I know it's super base to call it the Department of War or to say I don't give a bleep in response to a legitimate question about constraints on government power, but come on. There's sounding like a tough guy, and then there's acting like a tough guy. It behooves our leaders to know the difference. What Rand Paul understands is that U.S. citizens are best served by a policy of not overly involving ourselves in the affairs of other countries. Further, drug smugglers would actually love if we prosecuted the drug war even more aggressively because it makes the demand for their drugs even higher. We can't bomb or kill our way to victory in the drug war. If we could, we would have won it 40 years ago. So while I'm not shedding any tears on behalf of dead cartel thugs, good riddance, it's nevertheless important to remain wary about the prospect of the U.S. becoming embroiled in yet another disastrous overseas intervention. Now, Vance had the right instincts on this when it came to the Houthis in Yemen, and he sounded a note of caution when other people in the administration wanted to strike them. This is a similar situation. In fact, it's more dubious since we struck the Houthis in response to them actually attacking us. As always, America first.
You said a lot of buts in there. America first, but Trump is changing his tune, and it's.
Well, I was mildly criticizing.
Well, and I appreciate that. But the thing is, you're saying that there's criticism from liberals saying you guys have, or not you guys, Republicans have some kind of divisiveness in their party, and it's embarrassing. I would say the fact that it's embarrassing is that Trump ran on being the anti-war president and wants to change the entire department to be called the Department of War. I would say that it's embarrassing that he wants to be the anti-war president, but entered into a war on behalf of Israel with Iran for 12 days that nobody really wanted, including Democrats. I would say that it's embarrassing that he put this counter-narcotics mission as a counter-terrorism mission just so that he can bomb a Venezuelan ship and kill people, and under international and domestic law, that would be considered a war crime. And so I would say he's using all these words and terms to be more warlike when he ran on something totally different. So that would be the problem that would be more embarrassing than actual Republicans calling him out for it. I applaud Marjorie Taylor Greene, Rand Paul, anybody, Thomas Massey, who can say this is not what you ran on. I mean, Trump had three things that were pillars in his campaign. First was the economy. We know that. Second was immigration. He's going to solve that. And the third was staying out of the war that he called a disaster for Biden. I mean, and Biden didn't start them, but Afghanistan, he said, this was a disaster. I would never be involved in this. I'm anti-war. They call me the war president. You played the soundbite. So I think, President Trump is not living up to, or his administration is not living up to the things they said they were going to do in a variety of ways, including with immigration and people feeling like it's too harsh the way he's going about it, not just getting criminals out of the country. So I think, it's not about the disagreements within the party. It's about completely abandoning what you ran on and told the country you were going to accomplish and kind of changing tune while we're 9 months in. I think that is a fair criticism for people outside of the party to look in and say, wait, what's the strategy again? Or what are the pillars that you ran on that you're going to uplift for the next 4 years? Because if you think about it, this is still very early in his presidency. And we've already did too much warlike actions.
Yeah, this is an area of relative agreement between us. You were putting it a little bit more harshly than I think I did on my radar, but I think it shows the seduction of becoming involved in war as a guiding principle for the U.S. government, regardless of who's in charge. We seem inclined toward interventionism, despite a clear directive from the American people time and time again not to pursue these courses of action, and Trump being more rhetorically committed to restraint than most other presidents in my lifetime. Nevertheless, can be drawn into conflicts. So I would warn the administration to play back their own clips of them talking about this kind of stuff. If they rename the department and then don't do anything, fine. I don't care what it's called, but it's just okay, you're renaming the department, and we're kind of talking about regime change in Venezuela, and we did the Iran thing. This is sounding like the old neocon playbook to me.
Yes.
And I think they should keep that in mind. Listen to me more and listen to Rand Paul more.
Listen to Robby. So President Trump appears to be threatening to extend his federal takeover to Chicago. Here's how city leaders and residents are responding. That's up next. We'll be right back.